I never thought I'd be the guy spilling my guts like this, but here I am, staring at my screen in the dim light of our living room after everyone else has gone to bed. It's been eating me up inside for months now, and I figure if I don't put it down somewhere, it'll just keep festering. This isn't some dramatic tale with villains and heroes. It's just my life, messy and real, the way things unfold when you're not paying close enough attention. We'd been married for 9 years when it started. My wife and I met in college, back when everything felt like it had endless potential. She was studying education, I was in business, and we bonded over late night study sessions that turned into something more. Fast forward, and we're in a comfortable house in a mid sized suburb with 2 kids, a boy who's 7 and a girl turning 5. I work in sales for a mid tier company that deals in office supplies. Nothing glamorous, but it pays the bills and lets me be home most evenings. She teaches third grade at the local school, the kind of job that leaves her exhausted but fulfilled, or at least that's what she always said. Our marriage wasn't perfect, but whose is? We had the usual ups and downs, arguments over money, who was handling more of the kid stuff, the occasional dry spell in the bedroom when life got too hectic. But we loved each other, or at least I thought we did. We made time for date nights, even if it was just grabbing takeout and watching a movie after the kids crashed. I helped with homework, she handled the laundry rotation. It was routine, predictable, and I guess that's where the cracks started showing without me noticing. It began innocently enough at work. There was this new hire in marketing, let's call her Emily. She was in her late 20s, sharp, with a quick laugh that cut through the monotony of team meetings. I wasn't looking for anything. Hell, I barely registered her at first, beyond the polite introductions. But we ended up on the same project, revamping our client outreach strategy, and that meant long hours brainstorming in the conference room. She'd bring coffee from the break room, black like mine, and we'd talk shop, ideas flowing, jokes landing just right. It felt good to have that spark of collaboration, something I hadn't realized was missing from my day to day. One evening, after a particularly grueling deadline, a few of us went out for drinks at a nearby bar. My wife was fine with it. She knew the team and trusted me. Emily and I ended up at the end of the table, chatting about everything from bad bosses we'd had in the past to our favorite ways to unwind. She mentioned hiking on weekends, how it cleared her head, and I shared about coaching my son's little league team. Even though I was terrible at sports growing up, it was easy, natural. No red flags, just 2 colleagues connecting. But then the texts started. At first, work related. Hey, did you see the email from the boss? Then, that meeting was brutal, right? Soon it shifted to personal. She'd send a funny meme about office life. I'd respond with one about parenting fails. My wife saw a couple and laughed them off. She knew Emily from the company holiday party the year before. She seems nice, she'd say. And that was that. As weeks turned into months, those conversations deepened. Emily opened up about her rough breakup a year ago, how it left her questioning if she was cut out for relationships. I listened, offered advice from my married guy perspective. Stuff like communication being key, not sweating the small stuff. In return, she'd ask about my family, genuinely interested in the kids' antics, or how my wife and I balanced it all. It felt supportive, like having a friend who got the grind without the baggage of home life. I started looking forward to work more, to those stolen moments by the water cooler or late afternoon emails that weren't strictly necessary. At home, things were the same: dinner routines, bath times, collapsing into bed. But I noticed myself comparing Emily's energy versus my wife's fatigue after a day with rowdy kids. It was subtle, insidious. I'd catch myself smiling at a text from her while helping with dishes, and guilt would flicker, but I'd push it down. It's just friendship, I'd tell myself. Harmless. Then came the business trip. Our team had to go to a conference in another state, 3 days of panels and networking. My wife helped me pack, kissed me goodbye at the door, told me to have fun, but not too much. Emily was there too, along with 4 others from the office. The first night after sessions, we all hit the hotel bar. One by one, people peeled off, leaving Emily and me nursing our drinks. The conversation turned personal again. She talked about feeling lost in her career, wondering if she was wasting her potential. I shared how marriage and kids changed my priorities, how sometimes I missed the freedom of my 20s. That's when it happened. Her hand brushed mine on the bar top, lingering a second too long. Our eyes met, and there was this charge, unspoken but electric. I pulled back, mumbled something about needing sleep, and headed to my room. But lying there, staring at the ceiling, I couldn't shake it. The next day, we acted normal, but the air was different, thicker with possibility. On the flight home, seated next to each other by chance, she leaned in and whispered, "I had fun this week. With you." I nodded, heart pounding, and said, "Me too." That was the turning point, the moment I crossed from innocent to something else. Back at work, the texts ramped up, flirtatious now, emojis that hinted at more. I'd delete them after reading, telling myself it was nothing, but deep down, I knew. At home, I started withdrawing. Snappier with the kids, distant with my wife. She'd ask if everything was okay, and I'd blame work stress. Sex became mechanical when it happened at all. I hated myself for it, but the pull toward Emily was like a drug, exciting, new, validating in ways I'd forgotten I needed. One night, after the kids were asleep, my wife sat me down. "What's going on? You're not yourself." I denied it, of course, but her eyes searched mine, and I wondered if she suspected. She hugged me, said we needed a weekend away, just us. I agreed, feeling like scum, but it planted a seed of doubt. Was this worth risking everything? Yet, the next day at work, Emily suggested lunch off-site to discuss the project. We went to a quiet cafe, and halfway through she confessed, "I think I'm falling for you." My stomach dropped, but instead of shutting it down, I said, "I feel it too." We didn't kiss, didn't touch, but the admission hung there, binding us. That afternoon, back at my desk, I stared at family photos on my phone, my wife laughing at a backyard barbecue, the kids building forts in the living room. Guilt crashed over me like a wave, but so did exhilaration. I was alive in a way I hadn't been in years. Little did I know, this was just the beginning. The rising tension at home, the stolen glances at work, it was building to something I couldn't control. And the twist? It wasn't what I expected at all. The weeks after that lunch confession blurred into a haze of secrecy and self-justification. I'd wake up early before the alarm, my mind racing with thoughts of Emily, while my wife slept beside me, her breathing steady and trusting. I'd make coffee, pack lunches for the kids, go through the motions like nothing had changed. But everything had. At work, Emily and I found ways to be alone. Extended meetings in empty offices, quick walks to the parking lot under the guise of grabbing something from our cars. We hadn't crossed into physical territory yet, but the emotional pull was intense. She'd shared details about her life. Growing up in a broken home, her dad's absence making her wary of commitment, how she threw herself into work to avoid loneliness. I'd nod, empathize, and in turn, vent about the pressures of family life, the endless cycle of bills, school events, the way marriage sometimes felt like a partnership more than a passion. It wasn't that I didn't love my wife. I did, deeply. She'd been my rock through job changes, the birth of our kids, even my mom's health scare a few years back. But with Emily, there was no history weighing us down, no shared responsibilities dulling the edges. It was pure connection, or so I convinced myself. One Friday, my wife surprised me with tickets to a concert we'd talked about months ago. "We need this," she said, eyes hopeful. The kids were staying with her sister, and it was just us. We drove in our mid-sized sedan, windows down, her hand on my knee like old times. The music was great, the crowd energetic, and for a few hours, I forgot about Emily. We laughed, danced awkwardly, kissed during a slow song. Back home, we made love for the first time in weeks, and it felt real, tender. But the next morning, as she hummed in the kitchen making pancakes, my phone buzzed. "Emily, missed you yesterday. Hope your weekend's good." Guilt twisted in my gut, but I replied, "You too." That small act felt like betrayal, chipping away at the night's magic. As days passed, the affair escalated subtly. Emily invited me to her apartment for dinner and strategy talk after work. I lied to my wife, said the team was pulling a late night. Her place was cozy, bookshelves crammed with novels, a small balcony overlooking a quiet street. We ate pasta she'd cooked, talked for hours. When she leaned in to kiss me, I didn't pull away. It was soft at first, then urgent, clothes coming off in a rush of pent-up desire. Afterward, lying there, reality hit. "What are we doing?" I whispered. She traced circles on my chest. "Living, finally." Driving home, I rehearsed excuses, but my wife was asleep. I showered, scrubbing away the scent of Emily, but the shame lingered. This became our pattern. Stolen evenings, hurried encounters in her car, or empty offices. Each time, the high was followed by crashing regret. I'd overcompensate at home, helping more with chores, planning family outings to the park, where the kids could run wild on the grass. My wife noticed the shifts. "You're being so sweet lately," she'd say, smiling, but there was a question in her eyes. I wondered if she checked my phone, but I was careful. Deleted messages, used work email for logistics. Still, paranoia crept in. One night during dinner, my son asked why Daddy was always on his phone. I laughed it off, but my wife's glance lingered. Emily started pushing for more. "When are you going to leave her?" she'd ask, half joking at first, then serious. I'd deflect. "It's complicated with the kids." But inside, I was torn. Part of me fantasized about a fresh start. No routines, just us. Another part recoiled at the thought of breaking my family. Then came the first twist, small but unsettling. I found a receipt in my wife's purse for a lunch spot downtown, dated a weekday when she said she was at school. It was for 2 meals. I brushed it off, maybe a colleague, but doubt seeded. Was she sensing my distance and seeking comfort elsewhere? The irony wasn't lost on me. Work tension ramped up too. Our project hit snags, deadlines loomed, and Emily and I argued more, jealousy creeping in when I'd mentioned family plans. One afternoon in the break room, she snapped, "You act like I'm just a distraction." I hushed her, glancing around, heart racing. That night, I came home late, and my wife was waiting. "We need to talk," she said. My stomach dropped. She confronted me about the changes, my moods, the overtime. I denied everything, blamed stress. She cried, said she felt us drifting. I held her, promised to do better, and for a week I pulled back from Emily. No texts, minimal interaction at work. It hurt, like withdrawal, but seeing my wife's relief made it worth it. But Emily didn't let go. She cornered me in the hallway. "Is this it? You're just ghosting me?" Her eyes were red-rimmed, vulnerable. I caved, agreed to meet after work. That encounter was intense, fueled by the break, but afterward, she dropped a bomb. "I'm late. My period." Panic surged. "What? We used protection." She nodded, teary. "Mostly, but that one time, I drove home in a daze, mind spinning. Fathering another child? Destroying my marriage? I couldn't sleep, weighing options. Tell my wife, end it with Emily, or worse." The next day, she texted, "False alarm. Just stress." Relief flooded me, but it shook something loose. This wasn't sustainable. I decided to end it for real. But life had other plans. That weekend, we had a family barbecue in the backyard. Kids playing, my wife grilling burgers. My phone buzzed. "Emily, we need to talk, now." I ignored it. Later, as we cleaned up, my wife found my phone unlocked. A notification popped. "Miss you already? Last night was amazing." From Emily. Time froze. My wife stared, face paling. "Who is she?" The confrontation was raw. Tears, accusations, my stammered confessions. I admitted the emotional side, downplayed the physical, begged for forgiveness. She stormed out, drove off in our sedan. I sat with the kids, heart shattered, explaining mommy needed space. She came back hours later, eyes swollen. We talked till dawn, how it started, why I strayed. She shared her own loneliness, how my distance hurt. No screaming, just pain. We agreed to therapy to try fixing us, but the twist deepened. In our first session, the therapist asked about trust. My wife hesitated, then admitted, "I had an emotional thing too with a colleague at school. Nothing physical, but close." Shock hit me like a truck. Her lunches, the receipt, it clicked. We'd both wandered, seeking what we weren't giving each other. It wasn't revenge. It was parallel neglect. We laughed bitterly, then cried. The road ahead was uncertain, but for the first time, we were honest. Therapy became our lifeline in those early weeks after the confessions. We'd go twice a week to a quiet office in a strip mall, sitting on a worn couch facing a middle-aged woman with kind eyes and a notepad. She'd guide us through the wreckage, my affair with Emily, my wife's emotional entanglement with her coworker, a gym teacher who'd listened when I hadn't. It wasn't symmetric. Mine had gone physical, hers hadn't, but the betrayal stung both ways. We'd leave sessions exhausted, sometimes hopeful, often raw. At home, we tiptoed around each other. The kids sensed the tension. Our boy asked why mommy and daddy weren't hugging as much. Our girl clung more during bedtime stories. We'd fake normalcy, family dinners with forced chatter about school and work, weekend trips to the zoo where animals roamed in enclosures that mirrored our emotional cages. I'd catch my wife staring into space, and she'd do the same with me. I cut off Emily completely, blocked her number, avoided her at work. She tried approaching once in the hallway, whispering, "We need closure." I walked away, heart pounding. Rumors swirled in the office, whispers about our thing, but I focused on my job, head down. One day, HR called me in. Emily had requested a transfer to another department. Relief washed over me, mixed with lingering guilt. My wife's coworker situation ended too. She told him it was over, focused on us. But trust was shattered glass, sharp edges everywhere. I'd see her texting and wonder, even though she showed me her phone willingly. She'd question my late nights, though they were rare now. As months passed, we rebuilt slowly. Date nights resumed, real ones. Walks in the park at dusk, hands intertwined, talking about dreams we'd shelved. I learned to listen, really listen, to her frustrations with teaching, her fears of losing herself in motherhood. She opened up about feeling unseen, how my work obsession left her carrying the load. Intimacy returned tentatively. Our first time post-confession was awkward, tearful, but healing. We laughed about it after, promising patience. But life doesn't pause for recovery. My job hit a rough patch. Layoffs loomed, sales dipped, stress mounted, testing our fragile peace. One night after a bad day, I snapped at the kids over spilled milk. My wife pulled me aside. "Don't bring that home." We argued, old wounds reopening. I stormed out, drove aimlessly in the sedan, ending up at a quiet overlook. Sitting there, phone in hand, I almost unblocked Emily just for comfort. But I didn't. Instead, I called my wife, apologized. She met me halfway, literally, at a coffee shop. We talked till closing, recommitting. Then came the bigger twist. During a therapy session digging into why we strayed, my wife revealed something from our past. "Remember that trip I took with friends 2 years ago? It was a girls' weekend, nothing unusual. I kissed someone at a bar. It was stupid, drunken, but I never told you." The room spun. Betrayal, layered on betrayal. "Why now?" I asked, voice breaking. She cried, "I thought it was nothing, buried it. But hiding it made me resent you more when you confessed." Anger surged. I felt played, like her moral high ground was false. We left in silence, the drive home tense. That night, I slept on the couch, mind reeling. Had our marriage been a lie longer than I thought? The next days were cold. Minimal words, separate routines. The kids picked up on it, acting out. Our boy throwing tantrums, our girl withdrawing. It forced us back to therapy. The counselor framed it as opportunity, full disclosure to rebuild on truth. We aired everything, small lies, unspoken resentments. I admitted flirting at a conference years back. Nothing more, but hidden. She shared doubts about having our second child, feeling trapped. It was painful, cathartic. Slowly, forgiveness emerged. Not overnight, but in moments. Her making my favorite meal, me surprising her with flowers from the market. We set boundaries, open phones, weekly check-ins. Work stabilized. I got a promotion, easing financial strain. We planned a family vacation, a cabin by a lake. Simple joys like fishing and campfires. There, away from routines, we connected deeply. Late nights by the fire, kids asleep, we'd talk futures. Maybe another kid or travel when they're older. But just as things steadied, Emily reappeared. Not in person, an email to my work address. "I need to talk. It's important." I deleted it, told my wife. She nodded, supportive, but worry creased her brow. Days later, another. Please, it's about us. I blocked the email, but unease grew. Was she pregnant after all? Vengeful? Then the bomb. A letter arrived at home, addressed to my wife. Anonymous, but I knew. It detailed my affair. Dates, places, graphic enough to hurt. My wife read it silently, then handed it to me. Is this true? I confirmed the basics, denied exaggerations. She didn't rage, she deflated. Why can't we move on? We confronted the pain again, therapy intensifying. Investigating, I learned Emily had been fired. Performance issues, but whispers of harassment claims against her. Had she lashed out? I considered legal action, but decided against, not wanting more drama. This event oddly bonded us. My wife saw my remorse, I her strength. We changed locks, monitored mail, but mostly focused inward. By year's end, our marriage felt stronger, forged in fire. Scars remained, but so did love, deeper, more aware. Yet, life twists unpredictably. One evening, my wife came home pale. I'm pregnant. Joy mixed with fear, timing off, but tests confirmed. We embraced, tears flowing. A new beginning amid the chaos. The pregnancy news hit like a reset button, but not a clean one. We were thrilled, another child, a symbol of our recommitment, but shadows lingered. My wife worried about stress affecting the baby. I fretted over providing stability. Therapy continued, now incorporating parenthood prep. Morning sickness kicked in early, leaving her drained. I'd handle school runs, breakfasts, drawing on reserves I didn't know I had. The kids were excited, our boy declaring he'd protect the new sibling, our girl drawing pictures of a bigger family. Work demanded more with the promotion. Longer hours, travel. I negotiated flexibility, but tension built. One trip, alone in a hotel, old temptations whispered. I called home instead, talking till late with my wife about baby names, nursery ideas. Emily faded into background noise. No more contact. But her letter's impact echoed. My wife occasionally referenced it during arguments, a weapon when hurt. You did that, she'd say. I'd apologize again. As her belly grew, so did our intimacy. We'd lie in bed, my hand on the bump, feeling kicks. She'd share fears. What if we mess this up? I'd reassure, drawing from our survival. But rising action came via family dynamics. My in-laws visited, sensing undercurrents. Her mom pulled me aside. Take care of her. She's been through enough. Guilt resurfaced. Did they know? My wife confided she'd told her sister for support. Then, a health scare, spotting at 20 weeks. Rushed to the doctor, ultrasounds, bed rest ordered. Panic gripped us. I took leave, managing home while she rested. Kids adapted, helping with quiet games. It passed. False alarm. But it deepened our bond. We reflected on fragility, vowing transparency. Post-scare, we nested, painting the nursery neutral tones, assembling cribs. Conversations turned philosophical. How infidelity exposed cracks, but also strengths. We chose each other again, she'd say. Yet twists persisted. At a prenatal class, we met couples sharing stories. One woman's tale mirrored ours. Affair, reconciliation, now thriving. It normalized us, but also highlighted risks. Work through a curve, a new project with travel to the coast. I hesitated, but we agreed. Trust built. On the trip, I texted updates, called nightly, no issues. Home, things hummed. Kids' school events, my wife's glow returning. But one night, she woke crying. I dreamed you left. Comforting her, I realized healing wasn't linear. As due date neared, preparations intensified. Bags packed, childcare arranged. Labor started early, a contraction during dinner. We rushed to the hospital, her gripping my hand. Hours of labor, me by her side, wiping sweat, encouraging. The baby arrived, a girl, healthy, crying robustly. Holding her, tears streamed. My wife smiled weakly. Our fresh start. Postpartum was tough. Sleepless nights, hormonal shifts. I'd rock the baby at 3 a.m., reflecting on paths not taken. Gratitude swelled for this life. But the biggest twist unfolded months later. Sorting mail, I found a card, no return address. Inside, Congratulations on the baby. Wish it was ours. E. Chill ran through me. How did she know? Stalking? I showed my wife. She paled but said, Ignore it. She's passed. We reported it, got a restraining order. Investigation revealed Emily had moved, but the card was her last jab. It shook us, but we emerged resilient. Therapy helped process, focusing on family. Now, with 3 kids, life is fuller, messier. Marriage isn't perfect, but it's ours. Battle-tested, authentic. Years have slipped by since the baby's arrival, and looking back, that card from Emily feels like a distant echo, a reminder of how close we came to losing it all. Our family grew not just in numbers, but in depth, each day a testament to the work we've put in. The kids are older now, our oldest navigating middle school awkwardness, the middle one full of questions about everything, and the youngest a toddler tornado of energy and giggles. My wife and I have settled into a rhythm that's comfortable yet vigilant. We still go to therapy occasionally, like tune-ups for a car that's seen rough roads. We've learned to spot warning signs. When one of us withdraws, we address it head-on. No more secrets, that's our pact. Work for me has stabilized into a senior role, with less travel and more balance. I coach the kids' sports teams on weekends, finding joy in their small victories. My wife went part-time at school, carving space for writing, a dream she'd shelved. Her short stories, drawn from life but fictionalized, give her an outlet for the emotions we both carry. Intimacy evolved too. Not the fiery passion of early days, but a steady warmth, built on trust rebuilt brick by brick. We make time for each other, quiet evenings on the porch, swing after bedtime, sharing a glass of wine and talking about nothing and everything. But life keeps twisting as it does. Last year, my father passed suddenly, a heart attack while gardening. Grief hit hard, pulling me inward. My wife was my anchor, handling the kids while I processed. In turn, when her school faced budget cuts threatening her job, I supported her through uncertainty. She transitioned to freelance tutoring, thriving in the flexibility. The infidelity scars fade but don't vanish. Occasionally, a song on the radio or a familiar scent triggers memories, and we'll talk it through. I'm glad we fought for this, she'll say, and I agree. Our kids, oblivious to the backstory, benefit from parents who've learned empathy the hard way. We teach them about communication, about owning mistakes, lessons from our lows. Recently, a new challenge. Our oldest found an old photo album, asking about that time mommy and daddy looked sad. We shared age-appropriate truths. Marriages have tough spots, but love wins with effort. It opened dialogues about relationships, preparing them for their own futures. As for Emily, we heard through mutual acquaintances she'd married, started a family elsewhere. No bitterness, just closure. Reflecting now in the quiet of night, I see how infidelity wasn't the end but a catalyst. For growth, for deeper connection. It stripped us bare, forced us to choose, rebuild or walk away. We chose each other, flaws and all. Our story isn't tidy, no happily ever after bow. It's real. Ups, downs, unpredictable turns. But it's ours, and for that, I'm grateful. Years have slipped by since the baby's arrival, and looking back, that card from Emily feels like a distant echo, a reminder of how close we came to losing it all. Our family grew not just in numbers, but in depth. Each day a testament to the work we've put in. The kids are older now. Our oldest navigating the awkwardness of middle school, with its cliques and first crushes that he shares in hushed tones over dinner. The middle one is a bundle of curiosity, asking endless questions about how things work, from stars in the sky to why leaves change color. And the youngest, our surprise gift, is a toddler whirlwind, her laughter filling the house as she chases the dog around the living room. My wife and I have settled into a rhythm that's comfortable yet vigilant, like gardeners tending a plant that's weathered storms. We still go to therapy occasionally, like tune-ups for a car that's seen rough roads but runs smoother for it. We've learned to spot warning signs. When one of us starts withdrawing into work or screens, we address it head-on, no letting it fester. No more secrets. That's our ironclad pact. born from the ashes of betrayal. Work for me has stabilized into a senior role with less travel and more balance that allows me to be present. I coach the kids' sports teams on weekends, finding unexpected joy in their small victories and even the losses that teach resilience. There's something grounding in watching them run across the field, grass stains on their knees, cheering them on from the sidelines. My wife went part-time at school after the birth, carving out space for a long-shelved dream, writing. Her short stories, drawn from slices of life but fictionalized to protect the raw truths, give her an outlet for the emotions we both still carry. She'll read them to me sometimes, late at night, and I'll see pieces of us woven in. The struggles, the redemptions. Intimacy has evolved too. Not the fiery, all-consuming passion of our early days, but a steady, comforting warmth, built on trust that's been rebuilt brick by painstaking brick. We make deliberate time for each other. Quiet evenings on the porch swing after the kids' bedtime, sharing a glass of wine and talking about nothing and everything. Dreams for the future, like traveling once the youngest is in school, or small plans like trying a new recipe together. Sex is part of it, but so is the simple act of holding hands while walking the dog at dusk, the neighborhood quiet around us. But life keeps twisting in ways we couldn't predict, as it always does for everyone. Last year, my father passed suddenly, a heart attack while he was out gardening in his backyard. Tools still in hand when they found him. Grief hit me like a freight train, pulling me inward into a fog of memories and what-ifs. My wife was my anchor through it all, handling the kids' routines while I processed the loss, attending support groups with me when the weight felt too heavy. She arranged the funeral details, held my hand during the service, and in the quiet nights after, listened as I reminisced about childhood fishing trips and life lessons he'd imparted. In turn, when her school faced severe budget cuts a few months later, threatening her position and leaving her anxious about our finances, I stepped up. I supported her through the uncertainty, helping update her resume and exploring options. She transitioned to freelance tutoring, working from home with flexible hours that suit our family better. It's thriving now. She has a steady stream of students, and the pride in her voice when she talks about a kid's breakthrough moment is infectious. The scars from the infidelity fade with time, but never fully vanish. They're part of our texture now, like lines on a well-used map. Occasionally, a song on the radio or a familiar scent in the air triggers memories, pulling us back to those dark days. We'll pause, talk it through over coffee at the kitchen table, acknowledging the pain without letting it define us. I'm glad we fought for this, she'll say, squeezing my hand, and I'll agree, feeling the weight of that choice. Our kids, blissfully oblivious to the full backstory, benefit from parents who've learned empathy the hard way. We teach them about communication in everyday ways, family meetings where everyone shares their day, encouraging them to voice feelings without fear. About owning mistakes, too. When I overreact to a spilled glass or forgotten chore, I apologize, modeling accountability. It's our way of preparing them for their own futures, hoping they avoid our pitfalls. Recently, a new challenge emerged when our oldest stumbled upon an old photo album tucked in the attic, flipping through pages of us from years ago. He pointed to a picture where my wife and I looked strained, eyes tired, and asked innocently, "Why did Mommy and Daddy look sad back then?" We exchanged glances, then shared age-appropriate truths. Marriages have tough spots, like storms that pass, but love and hard work make things better. It opened unexpected dialogues about relationships, emotions, even the importance of forgiveness. He's asked more questions since about how we met, what makes a good partner, conversations that feel profound, shaping him subtly. As for Emily, we heard through distant mutual acquaintances that she'd moved across the country, married a guy from her new job, and started a family of her own. No bitterness on our end, just a sense of closure, like closing a chapter that's long overdue. I wonder sometimes if she reflects on it all, but it's not my concern anymore. And reflecting now in the quiet of night with the house asleep around me, I see how the infidelity wasn't the end of our story, but a brutal catalyst for personal growth, for a deeper, more intentional connection. It stripped us bare, forced us to confront our flaws and choose, rebuild stronger or walk away defeated. We chose each other, flaws and all, and that decision echoes in every laugh, every hug, every ordinary moment that feels extraordinary. Because we earned it. Our story isn't a tidy fairy tale, no happily ever after tied with a bow. It's real, with ongoing ups and downs, unpredictable turns that life throws at everyone. There are still hard days, arguments over finances, exhaustion from parenting, moments of doubt when old insecurities whisper. But there's also profound gratitude for this life we've salvaged and nurtured, for the family we've protected, the love we've redeemed. If I've learned anything, it's that relationships aren't about perfection. They're about perseverance, about showing up even when it's hard. And in that, we've found something truly enduring.